Thank you. So I'm Emmanuel Delandrea. I'm very glad to be here today to present an overview of the emotional impact of movie Tusk. So I'm part of the organizing team, which also includes Martin Mixlut, Ling Chen, Yuan Bavei, and Mats Schroeder. So in this task, participants are expected to create systems that can automatically predict the emotional impact that videos will have on viewers. And we consider for emotions violence, arousal, and fear. Indeed, there are several ways to represent emotions. One way is a dimensional representation of emotions, and the other is a categorical representation. So for the dimensional, we consider a set of dimensions, such as violence and arousal, which are represented here. And each emotion has a value of violence and arousal and can be plotted in this 2D representation. So violence is a dimension from most negative to most positive emotions, and arousal from calmest to most active emotions. Another representation is a categorical one, where emotions are categories, like happiness, for example, and also fear, like fear, which has a low valence and a high arousal, because it's very negative and very active. So we mix these two representations in this task, where we want to have systems able to predict violence, arousal, and also fear. This is not a completely new task, because it's an evolution of tasks that appears during the previous years on violence, then affect, and emotion. So this is a research area which has a lot of applications, like personalized content delivery, movie recommendation, video editing supervisions, video summarization, and also protection of children from potential harmful content, which is one of the goals of the second subtask, which is dedicated to fear. So, to describe this task, we propose participants to deploy multimedia features and models to automatically predict the emotional impact of movies, where they are considered, as we said, in terms of violence, arousal, and fear. And to do so, we consider data which are long movies, and the emotional impact has to be predicted for consecutive 10-second segments sliding over the whole movie with a shift of 5 seconds. So this is a mix of local and global prediction, because we can have local predictions inside these segments, but as we have segments sliding over the whole movie, we can also take into account the context. So we can benefit from audiovisual context and study temporal dependencies. So there are two subtasks. The first one is the valence arousal prediction, where we need to predict a score of valence and arousal for each segment. And the second subtask is a fear prediction, where we propose to predict fear, that's to say, to predict if segments are supposed to induce fear or not. So in the first case, it's a regression problem, where we need to predict a value for arousal and for valence. And in the second subtask, it's a classification problem, where we want to classify segments as fear or not. It means inducing fear or not inducing fear. And one of the use cases for the second subtask is the prediction of threatening scenes to help system protecting children from potentially harmful video. So each participant can submit up to 5 runs for each subtask. And the models that participants can develop may rely on features that we provide, but also can use any external data. And to evaluate these systems, we make use of standard metrics. For the first subtask, which is valence arousal prediction and a regression problem, we use mean square error and Pearson's correlation coefficient. And for the second subtask, which is fear prediction, so a binary classification problem, we make use of accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score. So the data is part of LYRIS Access dataset that we have developed to support research on emotional prediction from videos. The development set is composed of 30 movies that are selected among 160 movies from this dataset, which are under Creative Commons license that can be distributed freely. And the duration of these movies are between 117 seconds and 4,000 seconds. So a total duration of around 7 hours. The test set is composed of 14 other movies from the 160 original ones, and the duration is between 200 seconds and 6,000 seconds, for a total duration of around 8 hours. So we provide this data. We also provide audio and visual features that we have computed. Of course, the ground truth. So to collect this ground truth, for the first subtask, we have asked 16 annotators to watch movies and to indicate their level of arousal and fear while watching movies. So to do so, we have developed an interface which is based on GTrace and using a joystick. So while watching movie, participants have a joystick and they can, on a scale, indicate the level of its balance, and also the same for arousal. It's not arousal and fear at the same time, it's at different moments to avoid cognitive too high cognitive load. From these annotations we have for each movie, for balance and arousal, we then post-process these signals to obtain, to remove noise and to obtain an average signal, which is considered as a ground truth. For the fear prediction, it has been done in NICEM, which is the Netherlands Institute of Classification of Audiovisual Media. And in this institute they have developed a software that they used, and it's not any people which did the annotation like we did previously with the first subtask. Here it's annotators that are trained to annotate media. So each movie is annotated by one annotator reporting the start and stop times of each sequence in the movie expected to induce fear. And they consider a fear felt by children. And segments are labeled as fear, so value 1, if they intersect with one of these fear sequences and not fear otherwise. Concerning the participation for the task, so 12 teams registered and 5 submitted runs. So there are a total of 39 run submissions. For the first subtask, balance and arousal prediction, 5 teams submitted runs, and the number of runs was 22. And for the fear prediction, 4 teams among the 5 submitted runs. So the 5 teams are international. There are 3 from China, 1 from Turkey, and 1 from United States. So considering the approaches participants are developing, so the analysis rely on visual and audio content. So the visual features that have been used generally are the one proposed by organizers, which include many different type of visual features like autocolor, so LBPs, deep features like FGG16. Some participants also developed their own features, like motion key trajectory with, for example, HOG features. Other type of deep features like convnets and some dense features. Concerning audio features, participants mostly used the one we provided, which are a set of 1,500 audio features computed with the toolbox OpenSmile, which is which are low-level audio features, but also higher level. And one participant also used another set of features. And finally, concerning the features, one participant developed its own high-level features, which is called lintering features, that we will have some details in speech later. And the goal here was to computationally model the gradually amplifying or decaying emotional flow. So an interesting one. Generally, there are a lot of features, so to simplify models, feature reductions are applied, and the one you can find in the participant approaches are PCA, a very common one, Fisher vectors, and also bias discriminant unbending, which has been developed for the purpose of the task. And for the classification and regression model, this is standard ones, support vector regression, support vector classification, also multiple kernel learning, AdaBoost, extreme learning machines, random forest, and also one participant used long short-term memory models. So generally, approaches are quite similar from the one we saw last year. So these are the results. So for the first subtask, we considered, as we said, two metrics, the mean square error and the Pearson's correlation coefficient. So we use two because generally we use the mean square error, but sometimes it not allows to go too deep into the behavior of the prediction model, and we need to see the correlation between the true series of labels and the predicted one. So that's why we have also Pearson's correlation coefficient, sorry. And we can see that the results are relatively low, but they are better than the one we had last year. Last year it was not exactly the same task, because for the valence and arousal prediction it was for each 1 second segment, and here it's for 10 seconds, so it's a larger one which integrates more context, but generally globally it's the same behavior we need to put. So even if it's not exactly, we can refer to what we had last year, and we can see that last year for valence the best correlation coefficient was 0.14, and here it's 0.37, so it's better. For arousal, it's globally the same. The results are not very high, but much better than last year. So it's very interesting. And among the teams, here is the ranked one. So for valence, you can see that the team THU HCSI has the best results, and it's also the same for arousal. So we have a speech later which explains the approach. So for the fear prediction, which is a classification model, we have a classification problem. We have used other metrics just to be sure that everyone understands the measure. We had a small recall on true positives, which are segments that are predicted as fear and are actually fear. True negatives that are predicted as fear are not fear, sorry, and they are actually not fear. So in both cases, it's okay. False positive segments are predicted as fear and are not fear, and false negative segments are predicted as not fear and are actually fear. So in these two cases, we made a wrong prediction. So the first measure is the accuracy, and accuracy is true positive plus true negative. So when we are right, divided by the total number of predictions. And here we can see that we have good accuracy. The best one is 0.8060. But here it's not very relevant to consider this measure, because even if you need to study it, it can be the only one, because the number of fear segments is very low regarding the total number of segments. So, for example, one team here, one team predicted always not fear, just to try, to study the behavior, and because we can see precision and recall are 0, and the accuracy is 0.84. So it means when you always say there is no fear, you have a good accuracy. So that's not the only good one, of course. So that's why you have other measures, which is precision. Precision is true positive divided by true positive plus false positive. So when you say it's positive, we study if it's right among all the positives you predict. And in this case, the best team is this one. But we can see that this good precision is associated with a very low recall. So it means that when they predict a segment to be fear, it has good chances to be fear, but they predict fear for a very small number of segments. When we consider recall, so we have a maximum of 0.27, and in this case it's a THU HCSI also, which has a very good result. And it's associated with a good precision one, and that's why when we have the sorted according to F1, which combines precision and recall, since it's a harmonic average of precision and recall, we have the best result here for this team. So to conclude, even if the results are relatively low, they are very encouraging, and we can see that they are better than what we had last year. In general, arousal is better predicted than valence, which is consistent with the literature. And some summations rely on features and models to cope with temporal dependencies. That's interesting because emotions is not local; it depends on temporal information, and evolve also in time. So half of the register participants submitted. Maybe it's because the task is too difficult, and indeed it's very challenging due to the high subjectivity of emotions, and also we have seen for fear prediction because we have not a lot of data which includes fear. So for the future, we can still go on with experiments because the data set is publicly available. It's part of TRS Access, which is available here. And some lessons from the results we obtained is that we need to collect more data for fear prediction. We also encourage participants to go further in developing approaches to model temporal dependencies and to study the interplay between valence, arousal, and fear, which has not been studied here. So we will have some presentation later. Karen will do this, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Emmanuel.